Okay, by now you've seen the striking images. Massive crowds marching in No Kings rallies through some of America's largest cities, like New York, Chicago, Boston, and Los Angeles, and also in deep red Republican areas, like Valley City, North Dakota, where Trump won by 35 points. In Morganton, North Carolina, where Trump won by 41 points, in Durant, Oklahoma, where Trump won by 58 points, and in Guntersville, Alabama, where Trump won by 72 points. Now, across the country, organizers estimate 7 million people turned out and said no kings in protest to the policies of the Trump administration. So the question now is, where does this go from here? Well, earlier tonight, the groups who organized those protests held a mobilization call to both celebrate this weekend's huge turnout and to game out how to grow the movement into something even bigger. Joining us now, fresh off tonight's organizing call, is Ezra Levin, co-founder and co-executive director of Indivisible, one of the leading organizers behind No Kings. What a weekend. I mean, this was bigger than the second No Kings protest, bigger than the first. It's growing. It's in more places. I know that my colleague and your friend and mine, Rachel Maddow, did an incredible job covering this all last night. But tonight you did something really important. You had this call with more than 130,000 people who RSVP'd. It's so powerful to do this. People need to know when they're excited what to do next. Tell us about the call and what you communicated to the people on it.
Look, Jen, I think this is the biggest movement call we've literally ever done. I think this is just a sign of how much energy there is there and how much people weren't treating this as just a one-day protest. One-day protests are important, but they are a tactic that needs to fit into a strategy that helps us achieve our goal. And our goal is simple. We want to reduce harm, fracture the coalition that is pushing this authoritarian overreach, and regain some power so we can usher in an era of accountability and reform. But we don't do this by just doing one-day marches. Successful movements evolve and grow and mature and engage in new tactics. So a lot about what we talked about on this call today was, one, celebrating the win, because in an age of authoritarianism, celebration is an act of defiance, especially when the regime is trying to act like this never happened. And two, talking about how we take this win, this historic, largest peaceful protest in American history, and build on it. Because as you said, we had 3 million people in April, we had 5 million people in June, and we had 7 million people on Saturday. The trajectory is up. It is growing, but growth isn't enough. We've got to then apply that power in a way that successfully pushes back against the regime.
What is that? We just all covered and watched, of course, the reaction to Jimmy Kimmel, the kind of economic boycotts of Disney for a period of time. How big a part of it is that? And what people watching out there who were, maybe they were there, maybe they're galvanized, maybe they're excited, what should they be doing now?
Jen, it sounds like you might have been in on our planning conversations. That's exactly what we're talking about. There are going to be big protest days, just like we saw on Saturday. That's true. But in between those days, there's going to be regime overreach. And I think the Jimmy Kimmel, Disney, ABC News example is an excellent case in point of how people power can be applied, not just against this administration in the White House, not just against Congress, but against the pillars of democracy, media institutions, businesses, universities that are getting pressured by this regime. In the Disney case, what we saw was the regime applied pressure, the institution buckled, the people responded in force, and then that institution saw that, changed course, and democracy sat up a little bit stiffer. We were a little bit stronger in that moment. There are going to be more instances exactly like that. So I think using our combined economic power in a rapid response, they do this, we do that, is necessary for creating the conditions of defiance all across the country. So we've launched something tonight called the No Kings Alliance, which is an alliance of all of these groups working together all around the country in an effort to produce that kind of rapid response we need to change the conditions on the ground, because we don't want this to be the Trump era. The Trump era is over. This is the No Kings era, and this regime is just operating in it temporarily while we build up the strength necessary to usher in this new era of reform.
I think I've been thinking a lot about how much coverage the Tea Party got. And even Ted Cruz, of all people, said today, he kind of warned that the protests could signal a political peril for the Republican Party, the way the Tea Party did back for Democrats in 2010. We only have about a minute left, unfortunately. But what does it look like to translate all of this energy into votes in a few weeks and next fall?
Look, Jen, the Tea Party's always been a big inspiration of mine, not because I agree with their racism or their violence or many of their strategies, but gosh, they knew how to organize locally. They knew how to take people power, apply it locally, and translate that into big electoral wins. Here's what I'll tell you. I don't think we're going to have to wait very long to see the electoral impact of this movement. In just a couple of weeks, we've got Proposition 50 in California. We've got 3 Supreme Court races in Pennsylvania. We've got state races in Virginia and state races in New Jersey. You're going to see how people power expressed in the streets then gets magnified at the ballot box very soon.
Just a few weeks from now, 2 weeks from tonight is elections. Ezra Levin, as always, thank you so much. Appreciate it.